was a quiet street in Essex, England, a neighborhood like any other. But behind the walls of a family home in Pump Hill, Great Baddow, a horrifying secret lay hidden for 4 years. In the home lived John and Lois McCullough, along with their daughter, Virginia McCullough. John was a retired business studies lecturer who had worked at Anglia Ruskin University, age 70, while his wife, Lois, was 71, both of them relying on their daughter as a caregiver due to their ill health and medical conditions. John had hypertension, type 2 diabetes, hypercholesterolemia, and glaucoma, while Lois had agoraphobia and traits of obsessive-compulsive disorder. By 2019, Virginia McCullough was still living under her parents' roof in Great Baddow, claiming she was pursuing a career in art, one that she assured them would bring financial stability. But behind the scenes, the truth was far darker. McCullough had been secretly accumulating massive debt, maxing out credit cards in her parents' names. When the financial strain became impossible to ignore, she wove an elaborate lie, convincing them their money had vanished in fraudulent scams. To keep suspicion at bay, she resorted to forging documents, carefully crafting a cover story to shield herself from the growing consequences of her actions. Her own sisters had seen troubling signs for years, describing her as socially awkward and a compulsive liar. But no one suspected that this deception was only the beginning, and that it would soon escalate into something far more sinister. In March 2019, Virginia began planning her parents' murder, accumulating a large amount of prescription drugs. Then, on June 17, 2019, Virginia McCullough drugged her parents in a calculated plan. Her father, John, unknowingly consumed a lethal cocktail of crushed prescription drugs mixed into alcohol. But her mother, Lois, who didn't drink, survived the dose. The next morning, finding her father dead, McCullough realized her mother would soon discover the truth. In a brutal act of desperation, she bludgeoned and stabbed Lois to death as she lay in bed, listening to the radio. With both parents gone, McCullough set about covering her tracks. She treated her own hand injury, bought supplies using her father's credit card, and concealed the bodies. Her father's remains hidden in a makeshift mausoleum of breeze blocks, her mother's body stuffed inside a bedroom wardrobe. Over the following days, she stole her mother's identity to gain access to credit cards, spending lavishly while spinning an intricate web of lies. To family and doctors, she claimed her parents were traveling, sick, or had quietly retired. She sent fake birthday cards, gifts, and text messages, anything to keep up the illusion. For over a year, she continued living in the house alongside their remains, gambling away more than £21,000 and ultimately pocketing nearly £150,000. The world outside was locked down due to the COVID-19 pandemic, a circumstance that conveniently helped her keep the truth buried. By September 2023, Virginia McCullough's carefully constructed lie was beginning to crack. Her parents' GP had grown concerned. John McCullough had failed to collect a vital prescription, and Virginia had repeatedly cancelled medical appointments on their behalf. With no sign of the elderly couple, the doctor alerted Essex County Council's safeguarding team. On September 13th, the council escalated the case to Essex Police, who launched a missing persons investigation. When officers questioned McCullough, she stuck to her story, insisting her parents were traveling and would return in October. But something felt off, and as officers dug deeper, their suspicions only grew stronger. On September 15th, 2023, police entered the home of the McCulloughs, executing a search warrant, breaking into the house and arresting Virginia McCullough. But the officers didn't expect what was coming next. Virginia immediately confessed to killing her parents, telling officers,
"Oh, my dad's body's in there." Right, okay. Where we find your mum?
Okay, so upstairs there were about 5 wardrobes.
Yep.
It's behind the bed, but back next to the sink. That's the second one. I slipped a pile of those into his drink. He didn't drink all of them. He only drank probably about half of 2. Yeah, when I went in the morning, this was before my mother, 6 o'clock in the morning, came in and he was gone.
Officers were shocked on the immediate confession. No remorse, no sadness, just openness and honesty on the brutal acts she had committed, even stating,
I did know that this would kind of come eventually. It's proper that I serve my punishment. So, yeah. Cheer up, at least you caught the bad guy.
Within the home, they found the remains of John and Lois McCullough, Virginia's parents. Their bodies had been decomposing for years. The truth was unthinkable. For 4 years, Virginia had lived in the home as if nothing had changed. Virginia McCullough was an ordinary woman, or so it seemed. No criminal record, no history of violence, just a daughter who had never left home. But those who knew her saw the warning signs. She was quiet, reclusive, unusually attached to her parents. She rarely spoke about the future, never talked of independence. And then one day, they were gone. Prosecutors would later reveal how Virginia poisoned her father, and later, bludgeoning and stabbing her mother. Both brutal, calculated acts. When they passed, she did nothing. No emergency calls, no burial. She simply closed the door and continued living. For 4 years, Virginia carried on as if her parents were still alive. She told neighbors they were too ill to come to the door. She collected their pensions, paid the bills, kept the house running. No one suspected a thing. But secrets can't stay hidden forever. Virginia was charged with double homicide. In court, she showed no emotion. The defense argued she was mentally unwell, that she was in denial. But the prosecution disagreed. This was not an act of madness. It was deliberate. In October 2024, Virginia McCullough was sentenced to life in prison, with her actions raising unsettling questions. Was this the result of deep-seated dependency, a fear of losing stability, or was it something far colder, premeditated, calculated, and devoid of remorse? Today, the McCullough home stands empty. The house will be sold. The street will move on. But some secrets refuse to stay buried.